Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third stage. The founder of Game On Nation, he and his team have worked with Fortune 500 companies, teams from the NFL, the MLB, on communicating better within their organization and with their audience. Ladies and gentlemen, will you welcome to the third stage, Steve Shenbaum.
Let's go.
What's up, man? Two working mic. Oh, hop up there. Good to see you, brother. Thank you so much.
By the way, we didn't plan this right here.
Yes.
Eric, we didn't plan it. And as an actor, I would never be competing with Chris Williams for any of his parts.
Come on.
That's a laugh. With.
I've seen the movies you're in. They're my favorite movies.
Thank you.
All right, Steve.
Chris.
Hard-hitting journalism.
Go.
Are you ready for this?
I don't know, but we'll improv.
Let's see. Steve.
Yes.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
What are you talking about?
Wow, this is getting contentious early.
What?
I didn't know it was going to get deep here. I know. I wasn't prepared for that question. I think it's a hot dog. A hot dog is a hot dog.
A hot dog's a sandwich,
Raise your hand if you think a hot dog is a sandwich.
It's a taco.
Wow, that pivoted. That went south.
What?
Eric,
Poquito Espanol?
I think a hot dog is a hot dog. I don't think it's a sandwich, but I don't want to offend you. So what's the question behind how do you feel?
I don't sit up late at night thinking about if a hot dog is a sandwich.
Fair.
But, I think that it's food between two slices of bread. So, it's got to be a sandwich.
If you say it like that, it might be a sandwich.
If it's not, then a sub's not a sandwich, right?
Now
so,
we're getting
have I convinced you? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Thank you.
That's gracious.
I got 4 of my staff members right here.
Gracious.
Let's go.
You talked to them before the event. It's probably what you did. You said, this is how you answer that.
Yeah.
All right, man. One more.
Yes.
What is, before you get up on stage in front of all these people, before you got a big time meeting, before something critical is happening, you're walking into the room, what's your go-to 3 songs?
So one song on my set list is what my daughters, I have 13 and 10-year-old, they're listening to Taylor Swift right now. So I got a Taylor Swift song on there.
Okay.
And then I listen to worship music. I got Maverick City.
Okay.
Check that out. And I also particularly have a song that I listen to on the way here called It Is Well With My Soul.
It Is Well With My Soul.
And the reason I share that with all y'all is because for someone with high energy, you don't need to hype it up because you'll go extra, as the kids say. Got it? And as Game On says, we call it don't put sugar on sugar.
Don't put
sugar on sugar. If you've got energy, you don't need to double that energy because you can end up freaking people out.
That's true.
Guilty as charged. So I listen to It Is Well With My Soul, and it is a calming song, and it puts me at peace and kind of gets me to surrender, so I remind myself it's not about me. Because as a recovering narcissist, you got to remind yourself it's not about you.
It's not about you. I love that. Recovering narcissist. That's cool. I've never heard it put that way. I like that.
I was hesitant to say that. But thankfully, we're not filming.
No, we're filming. We're on wax right now. Okay, so started in 1997.
Yeah.
So you're 28 years?
Yeah, like almost 29 years.
That's fast
did math out loud.
Everybody. Math. Okay, so 28 years down the road, you've worked with big names, you've worked with sports teams. Where did the idea, going back to 97, where did the idea for Game On Nation come from?
So two parts of this story. One was I was 12 years old. I was really into theater, and I was really into... I saw Anthony look up. I was like, what's up? I paid the rent. That's all I'm going to say. I was 12 years old, and I loved theater, and I loved playing baseball. And in my community, those two worlds didn't mesh. They kind of had this weird sort of division that I didn't get because I saw good and connection in both. So I told my mom at 12, I said, Mom, I want to start a camp for athletes and actors called Double Play. And I just thought the name was cool.
That's pretty good. From a marketing guy, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say that.
I received that.
Yeah.
We didn't end up doing Double Play, but what ended up happening actually is this mesh of theater and sports together. And that was actually what you mentioned. In 1997, a dear friend of mine was dating Pete Sampras.
Okay.
And for those folks who don't follow tennis, he was the #1 tennis player in the world for 6 years, and an extraordinary human being, but very quiet, not introverted or extroverted, just quieter because he was uncomfortable in the media. And he and I became friends. And he said to me once, Steve, I get nervous playing tennis. I can't imagine how you wouldn't, like
Yeah.
fifth set, tie break, double match
Agassi across
point.
the net. Yeah, for
And
sure.
he said, no, that's not it. I get nervous because I know I'm going to win this match, and I don't want to do the interview afterwards. And I was like, what? Just wrap your mind around that, normal athletes. His jam had nothing to do with he's like, I know I'm going to win. I'm the number one tennis player in the world. I don't want to do the interview afterwards. And it actually broke my heart. And I thought, I can't help you with your serve because I don't have the gift you have, but I can help you. And I have friends and teammates that can help you so you aren't fearful of speaking, because that breaks my heart if someone at the elite level who's been playing tennis since he was 7 is also expected to be a pontificator and a thespian on stage. We're asking too much of our elites to be that wildly gifted. So that's how Game On started.
I love it. I love it.
Thanks.
I feel like as an entrepreneur, we're like every day you're at these crossroads, right? Like you can go left, you can go right, and based on the decision that you make, right, then you're gonna go down this path, but you don't never know what's down that path, and right, you kind of learn as you go, and you don't know what you don't know, and so on and so forth. Over your time, 28 years, has there been a decision that you made that was a turning point for Game On, but might have seemed counterintuitive or like too risky? Like, talk to me about one of those decisions.
So actually, and I want to honor, I have Game On team right here, COO Jake Higginbotham and our colleague Caroline Walsh,
Shout
and
out
our new
Game On.
intern Delaney Dahan, and our client experience specialist Rachel Goff. And I say that because we've chopped this up, Chief and I. Jake was a Chief Master Sergeant E9 for 29 years in special operations. We just talked about this. 2 things. One was early in Game On. We were Game On Media, and then we moved to IMG Academy. And early on, I realized, let's change it to Game On Nation. But people in business will tell you, find your niche and
Right.
roll
for
with
sure.
that.
Roll with that. Yeah.
Which that is a part. But we felt like there would be more opportunity if we expanded beyond the Pete Samprases and the Serena Williams, because that's a limited audience. And we wanted to work with people and help them with the communication. And if we did that, we feel like we would cover media. So that was one move that I got a lot of pushback on. Like, why just stay with Game On Media and own that space? And I just felt like we could reach more people. And the second one was just recently, where Jake and I talked about, and that was this team who came up with it. I didn't.
Okay.
And that was Game On was taught for many years as a one individual instructor. So it was either me or another Game On staff member teaching solo on stage. And we decided to pair up. And as a business person, that costs double. You're paying 2 instructors. You deal with logistics and flying. So as you all, as entrepreneurs and business-minded folk, sometimes the wise financial decision is not always the route. We added a subject matter expert onto our facilitator's wing. So for example, when we do military training and Jake joins me, I can teach the improv side of things, and then Jake makes it make sense as a 29-year veteran in special operations. You're honoring the authority, and you actually get more impact. You may not double your revenue, but you'll triple your impact. So those were the 2 decisions that I think from a business perspective, we'd be like, why are you adding another person on stage?
Yeah.
It costs more.
But the outcome.
Crazy. I got to sit and breathe and watch these pipe hitters bring their expertise, and I'm sitting there going, gosh, for so many years, I just talk too much. We're not filming, are we?
We're filming right now. You're on wax right now.
But all jokes aside, it was about humbling yourself and going, can I pair off with someone who also has authority in this space? And what that subject matter expert does is they can make it make sense in a different way to that audience that you're talking to. And it's been a beautiful evolution for Game On. Maybe not as monetarily profitable, but certainly from an impact perspective, profound.
I bet those team members then are more fulfilled in their role in doing those things. I guess they're right here. We could just kind of put them on the spot. I didn't really think about that. But yeah, like when you let people do what they're really great at, they're fulfilled in their role, I find, right?
I mean, I'm realizing this like 28 years in. Yeah, when you come back as the leader and you start talking about all the deals you're making in the rooms you're in, guess what your teammate who isn't invited in that room starts to feel like?
Yeah, like an outsider for sure.
I want to be in the room too. So get them in the room.
Yeah, and let them do what they're great at.
And eventually that's your retirement plan, and let them be on the stage. So
Okay.
I didn't see this going this way, Ray, but I also love that the mic dynamic got wonky and all y'all started caring way more about the people on stage. Don't ever forget that feeling. You got it? And Eric got on his knees to try to fix the stage.
Did you see that?
And I was standing in the back going, how fascinating when you can't hear as well, how we lean in even more. I just thought I'd acknowledge that because I honor Vlad and Chris so much to sit back and navigating through the mic thing that's no one's fault. And then all of a sudden our instinct deep down as a human is to go. And I think that's a powerful leadership exercise that we don't script.
Wow, you're right. It wasn't scripted.
No, we didn't say 3 minutes in, let's get the mics to blow out.
It wasn't scripted. No, not at all.
No,
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge that. But
I appreciate
yeah, when you bring people into the experience and eventually let them be in the room and let them have their rhythm, then the excuse can't be, you're not ready.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And they're gonna enjoy coming to work. They're gonna be fulfilled, and you're empowering them, right? And I'll share with you like one of the biggest mistakes I made as a leader. My first employee I hired, she was a web developer. Hey, we're on wax. Shout out Julie. She was a web developer, and she was formally trained. I am not. Right, I had to learn all those things myself. She was formally trained. She finished school, and I hired her, and she had her own way of doing things. But I had my way of doing things, and so she would do things, and I'd be like, "Why would you do it that way? Do it my way. Why were you doing it?" I wasn't that like hovering physically, but I was hovering as a leader, not being a good leader, right? And so I had to learn the hard way. Like, hey, if I let her do what she's great at, if I empower her to do what she's great at, I'm gonna get the best out of her. She's gonna enjoy coming to work, like so on and so forth. And so the things that I lead with today are birthed from that experience, that mistake that I made.
And your hovering wasn't ill-intended.
No.
You wanted to honor and empower, but we can overplay it, and next thing you know, you're getting smothered, and no one's telling you
Right.
that you're doing that because you're the leader, and they're afraid to give you that feedback.
Right, exactly.
So you drive home going, I'm killing it. And they're like, he's killing it.
Yeah, they're not happy at all. They're not happy at all. All right, so I've been in some of your presentations, right? Game On's presentations. Your approach to communication and leadership, they're unique. What's one common misconception about communication that most people have?
That the loudest cat in the room is the greatest orator.
Did you guys hear that?
We have seen some of the most beautiful stories come out of the person that was relegated to the sound system until you invite them around the sound system and get them on stage, and their stories matter. They're just not the loudest cat in the room. In Hollywood, it's entertainment. I'm from there, people. So when you talk about communication and leadership, when we're watching a huge screen and we see like Braveheart and Mel Gibson like, freedom, and you see like the war movies and they're like, let's go. And like you're watching that, that's a movie. And then we think, I gotta be like that. That's not even Mel Gibson, that's a stunt double because that's a dangerous scene. So my answer to the question is the misconception or misperception of communication is it has to be bravado and machismo and team. Has there been one moment in our years where I've been like, everybody, charge the stage? It never happens. It's really chill. It's in the mundane. So don't get caught up in leadership has to be a big screen, epic show, or else it's only going to be available to the loudest cat in the room. And then the other misperception is communication and leadership is really hard because we're wonky human beings.
Yeah,
and that's why it's going to be an industry that we always will be helping because you never master it. There's never someone's like, I figured it out. I got it.
Really?
I mastered leadership and communication all in one fell swoop.
One fell swoop?
No, I'm messing up all the time.
All right, so over the years, as leaders, we get lots of feedback, positive, negative, lots of feedback. What has been the most valuable piece of feedback you've received, and how did it impact the business?
And before I answer, I'm going to give a plug. I'm so bad at selling on the stage.
Okay.
We have a feedback program we're piloting. a focus on feedback program we're piloting because our clients have been begging for feedback because it's a very complicated and needed topic for us to address, both how to give feedback and how to receive feedback. So I just want to share that. It's not my normal jam to do that, but I got my crew here. Cool?
Cool.
I got feedback when I was a freshman in college. I was in a play called Little Red, and I was the blue dog, okay? I was a freshman. I was just earning my stripes, all right?
All right.
It was Little Red. I was the blue dog, high energy, friendly blue dog. And one of the shows at Northwestern is we invited a bunch of middle schoolers to see the matinee. It was something you did with the children's show. A lot of energy, middle schoolers, 500 kids. And I acted up and was the friendly blue dog. The whole show, I was like, I am killing it. I am as blue doggy as you could be. And then afterwards, in the lobby, the kids mingle and the actors are kind of there. And you kind of want some encouragement after you've been the blue dog for 2 hours. And 3 middle schoolers walked up to me and said, "There's the scary blue dog."
The scary blue dog?
Yeah, and I was the friendly blue dog. Except I freaked them out because I was over-energetic friendly blue dog.
Did you put sugar on top of sugar?
I put sugar on sugar.
Sugar on sugar.
Good callback. I'll never forget that because these 3 young kids, they meant well, and I was like, wow. I thought I was being friendly blue dog, and I was being overwhelming blue dog.
What did that tell you?
I was a little extra.
What did you take from that?
I was a little extra. And more importantly, we may not always be connected to the feelings of the audience. You might, on stage, in a meeting, in a pitch, feeling one way. Please don't assume that the audience is feeling that same way. And that helped me lean it back.
How can we better understand how the audience is feeling? How are you feeling? See, how can I better understand without asking?
I think you need to not make it about trying to wow an audience. I think you need to make it about sharing truth and making a positive impact and get yourself out of the feelings. You know, even when you give surveys, you can't chase the survey results because you'll go from friendly blue dog to angry blue dog.
Very quickly.
And you're trying hard, and that was I was trying hard. I had a blue dog outfit. I had high energy. I was think of me at 19. I'm good. I didn't need to double down. And when 3 7th graders go, "There's the scary blue dog," it checked me. And then later, I would say the feedback I would encourage is, as leaders, which is everyone in this room, including Eric, your son, who's running his own business at 16 years old. Dude, that's radical that you're in the front row at 16, man. Let's go. Surround yourself with people beyond dad that will be real with you. Find your feedback loop, like 4 or 5, maybe not just your spouse, significant other, partner, but find a Chris Williams and a Jake Higginbotham. Because I'm being real here. If they don't tell you the truth, no one will.
Yeah.
And then you'll keep freaking out people as the blue dog. So surround yourself with a small group, but don't make it 30, because no one wakes up in the morning and is like, you know what? I can't wait to get some constructive feedback.
From 30 people.
I hope it's done early, and I hope it's really critical. Really, when someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, can I give you some feedback?" What's your first thought? Ugh.
Yeah. Sure. Ugh.
It better be good.
It better be good. About
Do I know you? Have you earned the right to share it with me? Have I earned the right to receive it? So surround yourself with some peers or even elders who will just respectfully, lovingly give you feedback and be real with you and say, "Hey, Steve or Chris or, Eric, you're doing this well. And hey, I would like to encourage you to improve on this because you need to keep an eye on it."
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. People that will cheer you on, but also hold you accountable. Right.
If all they do is cheer you on, you're going from love to enablement.
Right.
I mean, come on, everyone in this room, we know we've not done unbelievable, and that everyone's like, "That was unbelievable." You're driving home going, "It wasn't. It wasn't unbelievable. It was okay." Well, is someone going to let me know? Is someone going to be real with me? Yeah. So find that advisory group, 3, 4, 5 people that you're doing life with that will be real with you. So the feedback answer is surround yourself with people that will give you feedback.
Yeah. People that will say the hard things, right?
Yeah.
Shout out, Vlad. People that say the hard things to you if you need to hear it. Yeah. I love it. Okay. 28 years.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time you almost gave it up?
Yeah. but it was before I started Game On. But it connects to the journey.
Tell me.
Yeah, I kind of had a little insight on this question. I had my first real professional audition in Chicago. I graduated Northwestern, and I went out and got to like the final 3. Interesting enough, I just realized this. It was a Tropicana commercial, a national huge campaign, and just realized Tropicana's headquartered here in Bradenton. Yeah. Tropicana commercial. It would be a game changer financially. And at that time in my life, it also would have been a game changer for my ego and my pride. So just keep in mind that's in play. And I was in Chicago, top floor, blah, 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 6 auditions. That's how long this goes, to be the face of Tropicana orange juice. And I thought I did great. I didn't overwhelm them and blue dog them too much. Went back to my agency, and my agent, Randy Rubenstein, she had one of those mics, the headset things. This is 1993. And I walked up to her, and I was like, I kind of showed up to find out, did I get it? I was so desperate. Did I get it? And she had her mic on. You're me. And she's like, here. I'll do it to here. And I looked at her like that, but 22. And she went, you got it. And I went, I got it. She goes, yeah, you got the part. Yeah, it's a great opportunity. Hawaii, tons of money.
Somebody else?
She was on the phone with another actor. And then she didn't mean it. And she goes, what's up? And I went, and she goes, no, not you. What's up? I go, Tropicana, did I get it? And I'll never forget these words. She goes, no, they passed. No, they passed. And I was like, and for the next 2 hours, I walked around Chicago, and all I wanted to do was quit acting. That was my first audition, and I was so wrecked. The ego, the pride, the Steve the actor, and I truly remember 2 hours going, I'm not meant for this. Imagine your first gig, you get rejected, and you're an actor. You're going to get rejected a ton.
Yeah.
And I walked around for 2 hours, wrecked. But what I realized was, well, I got out of it. It wasn't that 2 hours. It was years later. I can't make what I do my identity.
Okay. I like this.
I can't make what I do my identity, because if it is, then when someone says they passed, you're wrecked. What is it about me? What did I do? I'm a failure. And my message, because I did kind of think this one through, Chris, man, you are a Gento, like, and your team is too. You are so well known in this community. The minute you called me, I was like, let's go. And so many people in this room are so connected to what they do, and it's beautiful. Don't make it your identity, because when you get the no, it's going to be hard to navigate out of that, or you don't get the deal, or you do get the deal. Even worse, then you're like, look at me. So that was my realization. That time I wanted to quit was a gateway to realize, don't make what you do who you are, or when they say yes or no, you're going to take it way too far.
Wow, it's powerful. I appreciate that. Going back to communication.
Yeah.
What is one communication skill that every leader in here should learn right now, immediately? What do they need?
It's actually something we do share in Game On. We call it rest, fuel, move. But I might add something, Chris, if we have time to do something improv-based. Is that okay?
Rest,
fuel, move.
Move.
That's different than the improv. I can only speak for me as a leader, imperfect leader, flawed leader, confident leader, human leader, all that. Rest. Rest is sleep, but also rest is, I feel like good leaders, good communicators need to pause.
Okay.
Don't just think of rest as sleep. Rest is pause.
Okay.
I can tell you, I've never driven home going, you know what would have been better for that meeting? A little more haste and a little more emotional uncontrollability would have helped that meeting, right?
Sure, yeah.
You never think to yourself, if I was just a little more reactive and a little quicker to respond, that would have gone great. So rest, to pause. To fuel, easily eat, but to fuel, what are you consuming? I think every leader needs to be intentional about what we're taking in, what we're reading, what we're watching, what we're listening to.
Yeah.
That first question was lovely, and I took it seriously.
Yeah.
I'd listen to worship music because it puts me in a place where my heart's locked in, so I'm not making it about me.
Yeah.
Because it's a constant battle. So rest to pause, fuel. What are you reading? What are you watching? Who are you hanging out with? Who are you rolling with? Because it will absolutely define your countenance. And finally, to move. Obviously, exercise is key. But make sure whatever you're doing, even if it's the smallest walk through Publix aisle 7, are you moving people? Are you making an impact? And I don't mean making an impact like spitting fire. We joke, melting faces. Those are crazy terms that you almost are like, what did he just say? We have speakers being told, go out there and kill it. We're not dragons. Go out there and spit fire. Ah. There's the scary blue dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So rest, pause, fuel, consume well, and move, impact others.
Impact others, leave an impact on others. I love it.
Can I pivot for a second?
Yeah, hit it.
Do you want to do a quick improv scene? We did not plan this. We'll sit right here.
You guys want to see this?
Come on.
All right, let's do it.
One of the things I also thought about in leadership is we have to listen. So we're going to do a scene.
Okay.
Right here.
All right.
I did not plan this with Chris, but I did
I'm
feel
not
like,
ready for this.
yeah.
Go ahead.
But actually, improv is a stretch, and we're all improving. So we're not going for the laughs. I'm looking at some teammates of mine from Leadership Academy. Could play last letter, first letter. Chris,
They're going to laugh.
in a moment, we're laughing with, not at.
That's right.
That's one of our rules. Laugh with, not at. Because no one wants to be shamed. And when you're made fun of, your guard goes up, you're called shy, you're not shy, you just got made fun of. Laugh with, not at.
Laugh with.
Have each other's back. I got you. And we're going to celebrate this win. Here's the deal. You and I are going to do a quick improv scene.
Okay.
I'll start it, and we're going to honor each other and just go with the flow. We're not saying no to each other. We're saying yes, and I'm not going to give you anything like dirty or inappropriate or whack.
Tracking.
The level up is, after I speak for a little while, Chris, you're going to start your sentence with the last letter of my last word.
The last letter of your last word.
Perfect. You see how Chris repeated that?
I listened. You see that?
So then, Chris, you got to start last letter of my last word. Team, if I were to say, we're just practicing.
Okay.
Chris, I'm really glad we're in this room. What letter would Chris start with? M. And don't play at home and be like, malevolence, like you're breathing. Cool? You'd start with M, not yet, and you'd come up, don't make it an SAT word that I don't understand. Just start your first sentence with a word that starts with M. You roll for a little bit, okay, and then I'll start my next exchange with the last letter of your last word.
Okay.
Cool?
Yeah.
We're not going to go one sentence. We're not going to do monologues. But really, watch what this does to this basic room when we're like, we're going to listen. So you don't need like, we got to listen. We got to focus. Like that doesn't get people to authentically listen. That freaks people out and you're like, I don't want to get in trouble. Cool?
Cool.
I'll never say get me a Kleenex because that'll jam you up and give you an X and you might go
that's
Xan and do Xerox. But why do that? Don't end with Kleenex. Cool?
Cool.
You ready?
Yes.
Last letter, first letter. You don't have to be perfect. And I'll finish my sentence with strength so you can hear that letter. And you do the same. And if we both end in the letter E a couple times, don't worry. There's more than one word that starts with E.
Okay. Hit
Good?
it. Yes. I got it. Let's
I did not plan this out with Chris. Do you have empathy over here?
Please. Come on.
No one's like, can't wait to like do something I wasn't planning on doing. I hope it's done on stage. All right, here we go. Professor Williams, I want to thank you so much, sir, for allowing me to just be a part of your class. It has been an honor, and my hope is that I could get your permission to sign up for your second semester class today.
You can absolutely sign up for my second semester class. And in fact, please sign up for the third semester class. Is that a real thing? As well.
Lovely. That is what I was hoping. And I love that I've already gotten permission to go second semester and third semester. Sir, Professor, is there anything I could read during the break that would put me in a place where I could be a better student?
That's a wonderful question, Steve. I would recommend reading Atomic Habits. It's a wonderful book that will help you to establish real actionable habits in your life. And it's also just one of my favorite things to read.
Did you know that I just read a blog about James Clear, the author, and this guy wrote a blog a day for like 5 years?
So I did know that. It's a powerful way to create content. In fact, I think if there's a musician out here that wanted to create a song every day for a year, I think that they would just take off.
For crying out loud, that is a great thought that I didn't see coming. That would be amazing if you create that pattern, that 10,000 hours once a day with anything. Imagine what it could do for someone's growth and for them to feel more confident with what they're doing.
Garfield the cat used to say all the time.
And scene. Give Chris Williams a hand. Garfield the cat.
Great stuff, man.
Let's go.
Great stuff.
I didn't have Garfield the cat on the bingo card.
Hey, that was fun.
But what you saw was two flawed humans listening, and the after effect is y'all listened, and you even laughed, and there was no funny punchline set up, dirty, inappropriate joke that catches people off guard. Don't Google how to ice break an audience. You'll get them all freaked out. Cool? Just give space.
Wonderful. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today. This was so much fun.
Man, thank you, Chris. Thank you.
All right, friends, we're going to open things up for Q&A. I'm going to move my chair over here. Come on, Vlad, where you at?
What is one thing that you would tell an entrepreneur at their lowest point who feels like, is this worth it? Should I keep going or not?
Vlad?
Yeah. Why, do you feel like that's where I'm at right now?
No, not at all. No.
I mean, that's the best time to dig into your why, I think. And I always like to look at the long term. You know, is this something that I see myself doing, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and so on and so on. And you just got to ask yourself the hard questions, and you got to be honest with yourself. And if it's a no, that's okay too. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've met a lot of people that, started the journey and then they took a break, went back into a corporate job or, W-2 job, and then eventually realized that that's not what they want to do, for the rest of their lives, and they got back onto their path. And so I think everyone's journey is different. It's unique. I just don't beat yourself up. I think that's the most important thing. And just keep going.
Yeah, I think that being self-aware is the first thing, right? Like if it's a viable business, right? Like if you're selling ice, it's going to be tough to make that work, right? Like, but if you've got a viable business and you're at this low point, I think being self-aware and honest with yourself, like, hey, am I doing everything that I really need to do to get this done, right? Like I set this goal, I said I was going to do this, I said I was going to do that. Am I actually doing it, right? If you can be honest with yourself and say, yes, you did do it, then maybe it's just not the right business for you. And yeah, maybe it's time to get a W-2 job. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with getting a W-2 job, right? But if in your honesty with yourself, if you're not doing what you said you were going to do and what you said you wanted, then now it's time to make some changes, right? Just be self-aware. Good question. Steve?
I just add to what Vlad said. I would ask questions and pause. If you're wanting to quit, ask why and get people around you that could counsel as well. For me, I wanted to quit because I hated rejection. That's really not a great reason to let go of your dream. But I had a friend who was a sportscaster. She created her own enterprise, and she wanted to have a family, raise children with her husband, and have weekends free for the next 20 years. That's a way different reason to move off of your career than my reason, which was my feelings were hurt. So I really think you just need to ask, why am I feeling this way? And to Chris's point, and Vlad, it's okay if the answer is moving on. And I would just get the word quit out of that vocabulary. It's a pivot. You're switching to a different season in your life, and the Lord might have you gifted in a way that you weren't honoring. And if you pivot, you're not quitting, you're actually advancing and letting go of one journey, and you're stepping into something that could be so wildly profound and kingdom led that you'll be a part of something that could change the world.
Yeah, and I mean, like, in that moment, that lowest point, I think that's the word you use, like lowest point. I feel like when we're at our lowest point, you discover yourself. You really find out, like, is this for me? And it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But like, I think you can learn a lot about yourself when you go through the fire. And there's not really any other way to simulate that or figure that out except to go through the fire. Any others? Yes, ma'am.
How has your definition of success changed over the years?
That's a great question. Who wants to go first, Steve?
I'll just briefly say, and my team's right here, I actually have to get better at this. I've never defined success as monetary, to a fault. That's why I have a COO. I went too far, and it was just like, I just want to impact and change the world. Well, you know what? The reality is you also need to cover salaries, and it's okay to be a good steward of your money. But I think I'm not going to answer. I think that's such a wonderful question that we constantly need to ask. How do you define a success? And I think it could be multifaceted. It could be generating revenue. It could be profit. It could be people. It could be impact. It could be freedom. It could be lifestyle. And I think you need to each define your various flow chart of success. And it doesn't have to be just one due north. And just make sure you're balancing it. I have a lot of friends who are like, their biggest definition of success is freedom, creativity, and lifestyle. And they'll take a little less money if they can have that freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, I try not to tie my personal definition of success to business success. Obviously we have, goals and objectives with Compose and, any other business really that we're involved with. But for me personally, I consider myself successful today because I'm doing what makes me happy, and I'm doing it with people that make me happy. And so for that, I'm, extremely grateful, because I do understand that there's many, many people out there that are just doing jobs that don't fulfill them. They wake up in the mornings not wanting to go into work. And so, yeah, and maybe that's, because of my background too. I don't think my parents, were, my dad especially, I don't think that he was doing work that fulfilled him and made him happy, and I kind of saw it and witnessed that. So to me, obviously there's all kinds of business goals, but I like to consider myself successful for that reason.
Yeah, I like that you said, I think, evolved, right? I think like the different seasons. Full transparency, like when I started my business, like I didn't have anything to eat. I was financially driven, right? Like success was how am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to pay the rent? It was probably the first 18 months to 2 years, it was all financially driven. But as the business began to grow, then it became like, goals weren't necessarily tied to success, right? The business has goals, like Vlad said. We want to hit our goals. But was I successful? I would gauge that based on, at some points it was, how much am I doing in the community? Right? That's a big part of my life. Like, am I giving back? Am I spending enough time giving back to the community? And then, I got married in 2020. I got that right. In 2020. Right, so success was, hey, how much time can I step away from the business to spend time with my family? You know what I mean? So just different seasons in your life to where you'll measure success differently. I think you need to figure out, or anybody needs to figure out, what is driving them in that moment or in that season, and then that will push it. Everything else will fall in line, right? Like if you're striving for success to spend more time with your family, cool. The business is gonna come along, right? Because you got to do what you got to do over here to spend that time. Or vice versa, or whatever. Like, but if you can identify what makes you happy, what makes you successful, and to the point that you said, like some people are doing a job that they don't love. There's some people doing a W-2 job. They're the happiest people I know, right? They're the most successful people I know because they wake up every day, they enjoy life, they're getting what they want out of life. And so I think it just matters what's important to you in those seasons. Great question. Yeah.
As far as hiring, with ChatGPT writing resumes and filling out that stuff, like what's your guys' process for finding people that fit the culture?
Well, first of all, I think that most companies don't invest enough time and resources into the hiring process. It's always an afterthought. Oh my gosh, Bobby's got too much work on his plate. We need to find someone else to help out Bobby, And so I would start there, put together a hiring plan. Like we have an annual hiring plan, then we have a quarterly hiring plan, and then, sometimes you find that individual that, you didn't plan for, but it makes all the sense in the world to figure out a way to bring that person on, and, for many, many reasons. So I think for us, we at Compose, we have a very rigid hiring process. We invest a lot of time, energy, and even money into identifying new team members. I spend a lot of time during the interview process, so does my business partner, so does the rest of the team. So build your hiring process and your interview structure around your company needs. So that culture question for us is it's in the first round. If we don't feel, good energy, and if we don't feel like it's a good fit, then, we don't, that's it, we don't spend any more time on that individual. So I guess to sum it all up, just, treat it like you're trying to close a deal. Round one is just getting to know the person. At the end of the day, we are in the people business. What we sell is, knowledge. We're knowledge workers, and we work with other organizations, which means that we have to be really good at building good relationships. And in order to build a good relationship, you need strong soft skills. So we have hired people in the past that have had exceptional soft skills, or at least we saw the potential in that, but on paper, didn't make any sense. So our approach is, if we find the right person and we know that we have the resources that we can invest into that person to get them to, where they want to be and where we think they can be, then even if they don't check all the technical criteria, we still may move forward.
I love it. So with us, it's a little rigid as well. Phone call, Zoom, something like that. Dinner. I like to take people to dinner, and then the interview process is really getting more tactical at that point. What are their skills for the actual job? But I just want to know who the person is first. Whether they can do the job or not, I figure that out later. I've never been one either to look at what's the degree. I'm not somebody that's going to sit in front of somebody and say, well, you don't have a degree. I'm not trying to hear it. You know what I mean? Because admittedly, I don't have a degree. I never finished school either, right? So, and if they do have a degree, cool, but maybe that's not what they want to do. I know plenty of people who have a degree in this and they do that, right? Those first two conversations, though, I just want to know who they are. I want to see how they interact with people. I'm not saying that I take them to dinner and I'm seeing how they treat the wait staff or something like that. That's pretty old school. But I do want to see how they represent themselves in just a casual environment. Let's just have a conversation. I find that, my father used to hire people over at Cape Canaveral, and he would always say that when he hired people, he interviewed people, he never met them, he met their representative, right? And so, if they come into the office and I'm just going to be oh, okay, here's my list of questions, I'm not meeting that real person. But if we go to dinner, we go grab coffee, if we chit-chat a little bit, I can get a good sense of, is this person even worth being on the team? Are they a good fit? Even if they're a great person, are they a great fit or not, right? And then at that point, now let's get tactical. But we're going to do culture first. It's going to be culture fit.
Yeah, I think it's hard to AI a casual conversation at dinner.
Yeah.
But it's easier to AI a Zoom when they know the 8 questions they're going to get. That's to kind of, Eric, part of your question. I'll flip it quickly and think, when we work, this team and I work with companies, what I'll see selection, I call selection when it doesn't work, it's actually what Vlad said. When the selection doesn't work well, it's oftentimes because the company first doesn't understand or is not clear on their culture. Like, what is your due north? What is it you do? You know, we're a company that focuses on self, others, and purpose, and we teach connection. But if we don't know that, and we're interviewing someone, we're actually putting them at a disadvantage because we don't even know what we're selecting them to. And if we do select them, oftentimes they get fired because they're like, you didn't do your job. No, you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So you hired someone without any clarity on the direction your company is heading. You've seen that a lot. So I would say culture's first,
Yep.
then selection. And then a quick nod. We have an intern, Delaney DeHaan. I love to give credit where credit's due. High-end encourager. But Delaney, and this is important as entrepreneurs, you should, as the leader of the company, have a voice in the person that brings, that's going to bring value to your team. But you have to also, in some situations, remove yourself. After a while, I'm going to make up a term. It almost becomes like power bias. Because Delaney also happens to be the daughter of two of my dear friends. So after I initially check in, I'm moving Delaney over to my team. Let them make that decision if she's a fit, because I'm also wildly biased because of my proximity.
Sure.
And I think that's something that I had to learn the hard way is if you're the leader, you're like, I love this person. They're just like me. Guess what you have when you have 7 of me's in your company?
Yeah.
Vision and bankruptcy.
Yeah. You know what? I'll add to it. Hey, don't be afraid to add somebody else into the mix. Like, you're gonna see things a certain way. Like, if you bring somebody else in to have that conversation with somebody, they may see something that you don't. You know what I mean? So, any others? Yes.
So, I guess kind of like, thinking about business, every kind of rule or guideline or SOP comes from something, right? Like you had an instance or an accident or an oopsie or, oh, this worked really well. I just wonder if you guys could share some type of, moment in growing your business or building it where you had something happen where you're like, oh, I need to fix that, or I need to write that down, or I need to, come up with something to make sure that we're still good in a year or in 10.
So many to count. Too many to count. Yeah, it happens every day.
And I was thinking this, as a lot of people in here might be trying to grow a business or have a small business, those little tiny kind of moments where like something clicked and, oh.
Well, it's like those little details that we talked about earlier, right? I'll give you one. I'll give you 2 real quick. We had one of these guys die. Like, we're recording the audio for a doctor. We sit and shoot the videos. Doctor's busy. He gives us his time. He shoots the video. Audio's no good. That was brutal. That there wasn't a backup to the backup, right? There wasn't something in place to make sure that didn't happen. And so now we have a process for that, right? Now there's a backup to the backup. That's one. And 2, I have a one-on-one with each team member every month. And so, like, what they tell me, the feedback I get from them, it creates the policies that we have, whether that's for personnel, whether that's for how to do a job or a task. It all comes from that feedback. It's evolving every single day.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I think that if you and your team are thinking in that way already and paying attention to those things, then you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So, because that's gonna happen every day or every week at least.
And you see the theme on feedback. Don't make feedback a quarterly thing or a yearly thing. Make it an everyday thing.
Yeah.
You trademark that?
No,
Pretty
but I'll sue you if you say it.
good. For real.
No, that's not fair. You got to trademark it first.
Good questions. Any others? Yes, ma'am.
So you all are leaders, and most everybody in this room is a leader in some way.
Yeah.
In their company, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a W-2 employee in a leadership role. When those things that derail your day and everything's spiraling, what is one thing that you do to try to stop it, to change that,
To try to stop it.
and move in a different direction? Just one thing that you find impactful to turn that page for your team and yourself.
Like to fix something that is happening or to fix something that already
You're
happened?
getting derailed. You're running off the rails. You're in it. Your team's in it, and they're looking at you as a leader. Help us get out of it. What is the most important thing you could always do to help move?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think that if you're a leader in that situation, in that specific position, I think that you're dictating the energy of the rest of the team. So I think, step number one, and I feel like Steve's gonna have a really good answer for this one. But step number one is just, like calm yourself down. Problems, issues happen all the time. I was at the gym 2 nights ago, and that's my time to like disconnect from the workday. And I got an email, and I shouldn't be checking my email during that time, but I got a client email that fired us or terminated the contract. And so, what do? So I think just staying calm, like it's always going to be it's going to be ups and downs all the time. And yeah, tell your team it's going to be okay. Make sure that everyone's got a clear head, because you're going to need to clear head to come up with a solution at the end of the day.
I mean, I've got an answer, but Steve's gonna have like an awesome answer.
That's so unfair.
All right. Yeah, do it.
It's just fascinating. I've already acknowledged. I've got 4 colleagues here that know the reality of our imperfection and also don't over apologize. It's also wonderful and beautiful what we do. I have 3 things that I try to practice if it's high level. Vlad already said 1, emotional control, critical thinking, and common sense. I don't always go to them. Emotional control, critical thinking, and common sense. Those are a nice triple threat when you're in the midst of an issue. If the issue, and I'm going to shift the question and then I'll throw it to you. If the issue isn't on fire, find some healthy laughter and joy. Again, don't be laughing. I don't want Vlad to be like, guess what, everyone? We lost the contract. Isn't that hilarious?
Wonderful.
Like, you laugh because that's not an accurate joke. But yeah, if the stakes are maybe a little lower, if you figured it out, I do think we need more laughter and joy, not inappropriate humor, but just point out the levity, and that could be medicinal, and it could break the tension a little bit. And I think actually this team does do that well, because if you don't laugh, sometimes you're going to cry. So, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I think that as the leader, your team is going to be looking to you. And so the way that you handle it, not only just the way that you're communicating with them, but like the way that you're handling it, they're going to see that. And so I always, if I've got something that's just, it's on fire, right? I'll be in the office by myself, for a minute or 2. And I just try to be grateful. I really do just try to spend like this silly, over the top gratitude. I try to see everything from that light. And, I kind of think about like, was this a problem when I had 2 clients? I don't have 2 clients anymore, right? Like I try to be grateful in those moments and think about like, this is nothing compared to, kind of the things you had to overcome when you were getting started, right? And so then I'll come out and now it's time to get tactical. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to handle it. But I got to get grounded first. And I do that with gratitude. So good question. We have time for 2 more, friends. Yeah, Brad.
How navigating relationships from family, friends, significant others, especially like early on entrepreneurship, because they're not directly involved, like they don't understand it has stuff going on, those kind of things. And I'm sure that transitions right from early on entrepreneurship to, I'm sure company where you have a team. Any pointers, tips, tricks, things that you guys can share?
I'll just go quickly. I've been married 15 years. I put my wife and my children as the priority. My definition of success is I want to be a faithful husband and a very good father. So that's number 1. But to your question, but that is important to make that the due north. I keep my spouse, my wife, informed, but I have to be careful that she's not my mirror to vent about the company. It's to give her wins and celebrations because she's part of this journey. And so I guess my big simple answer one way is make sure you're not coming home and just venting the challenges you're facing at work, but you're sharing in the celebrations and wins, because your significant other spouse is going to lens and view your business the way you bring it home and share it. That's one.
I like that. Yeah, that's an important one. I'm big on like time, like managing time and making sure that I'm spending my time here or there or whatever. And it might sound silly, and I don't have to do it anymore, but it might sound silly. But like there was a time where I had to be like, yo, I'm spending time with my wife, or hey, I'm spending time, I'm doing dad time, it's homework time, and then I'll put do not disturb on the phone and stuff like that to kind of check out from one relationship, right? So wife, daughter, business, right? All these are all relationships that need me and need my time, but they need all of me in the moments that I'm spending with them, right? So I have to be able to just turn off the business, even just momentarily, right? Because it's always back here in the back of the head when I'm spending time over here, and then vice versa. Like, hey, if I'm over here working, then I got to turn that off, right? Like, at least it's back here, but I got to focus over here. And so I used to have to schedule it into my day, like to make sure that I had to treat time with the fam just like I would treat a meeting with a Stir Live event, right? It's important. I got to be there on time. I got to start at this time. I got to be focused. That's how I got to spend time with my wife or spend time with my daughter. In those moments, I got to be focused. That's how I did it.
Yeah. I'm still trying to get better at this one. It's really difficult. But I would say the biggest learning for me, and obviously my wife is my absolute number one priority, without a doubt. I think there's spending time together, and then there's spending time together.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that, I used to spend time with her, but I was there, but I wasn't there. Like, I was there, physically, but I really wasn't there mentally. And so one big thing that I learned over the past few years is that I need to take care of myself first so that I can take care of her and everyone else. And so, prioritizing the little things that allow you to disconnect when you need to disconnect and to be present has been a game changer for me.
Love it. Got time for one more? Yes.
Maybe a good ending question for all of you. If you could cite one attribute, there's probably many, that's been critical to your success, what attribute would you cite? You can give people an idea about. You gotta just pick one.
Got to pick one. Goodness, that's tough. Does it have to start with a particular? Oh, that's your thing. Okay. Go ahead, Steve.
My faith in God.
Persistence.
You guys answered way too quickly. Gratitude. Yeah, gratitude. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us. And
I find it fascinating that was the shortest answer and maybe the most important.
maybe
So,
you're right.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you,
Friends,
Vlad.
friends, please give it up for Steve Shenbaum and Vlad Yosevich.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great night.